Sometimes or very often, as people in the world, we like to have companions in our lives, to walk or sit near us, to share eating and sleeping times with. For many people, we choose people like friends or lovers as companions. Others choose ghosts to stay close to them, and they carry on conversations out loud or in their minds with the ghosts, and the conversations are invisible to other people. There are many who are not interested in invisible companions like ghosts, or visible companions like people. There are those who like a combination of the visible and invisible companionships of others. These are people who choose to keep dogs near them, who select dogs as their eating and sleeping friends. Like many people in the world, you have noticed the presence of dogs. If you consider yourself to be a dog person, this means you are a person who favorably acknowledges dogs when they are near. You are a person who says hello to every dog you see. You are a person who stores dog treats in your shoes while you are walking in order to attract dogs to be near you. If you do not consider yourself to be a dog person, you might think that this dream guide is not for you, regardless of your feelings or unfeelings about dogs. Sometimes or very often, dogs appear in your dreams. And when dogs appear in your dreams, they appear in a variety of shapes and colors and outfits. Understandably, it is hard to know what it means when a dog appears in your dreams. When dogs can mean so many things, and at times, dogs can mean every possible thing. Even outside of dreams, whether we realize it or not, when a person sees a dog, they try to find the dog inside of them, as an emotion. Because there are more emotions in people than there are names for emotions. And there are more types of dogs in the world than there are types of emotions inside of people. One of the ways we try to overcome that strangeness is to look at dogs and identify if we have ever felt like the dog we are looking at in the moment. Sometimes you discover a dog folding laundry in a basement and know that dog has an emotion that you know well, when you do not want to go outside, even if the sun is out. Or you are at a movie theater, and a dog has not turned off their phone, and it rings during the movie. And that is another emotion that you know well. Or you see a dog sitting alone, looking like a ruined star, which represents another emotion inside of you that you know well. Or you see the night dog, whose dark shape blends with the sky in such a way it is hard to know where the dog begins or ends, which is a feeling you sometimes get right as you fall asleep and begin to dream another dream with your dream guide friend. This is the dog dream. We begin, and it is night, and it is a curtain night, meaning it is a night composed of many curtains. Many layers of dark fabric combine in a thickness that prevents the stars and even the sun from shining through. It is that kind of night, that kind of dark, and we are out in the dark with our night work. Our night work, which can only happen when it is dark enough and cool enough for work. Because at night, we build new rivers, creeks, and streams. And building rivers, creeks and streams is very hot and very sweaty work. And while this reason for our night work is true for us, it is not true for the mayor. Because our mayor is a mayor that likes to surprise the people of the city. And because we live and work in Surprise City. Tomorrow, because of our work, and the work of the many other night workers, around the darkness of Surprise City, when the citizens wake up for a new day in the morning, they will wake up with new rivers that intersect roads, and trees where waffle shops once stood, and waffle shops where graveyards once slept. Tonight, you and me build a new water stream. A new stream with shovels and pickaxes, and with them, we dig into the ground, the dirt, the rock of the earth, and make a long path. Because the mayor likes to spend their free time doodling on maps of our city to create new plans for lakes and waterways in order to surprise the people of the city, because tonight we live and work in Surprise City. Tonight, we work on a water path that will flow to what the mayor has named Lake Calm Down. We follow the mayor's doodle plans, digging a waterway of curves and bends and angles through yards, buildings, and shopping center parking lots. Through the darkness of the night, we dig and cut into the ground, the grass, the dirt, extending the water that gurgles and splashes as we dig. The water fills up the space in the ground that I remove with a shovel, after you loosen it up with a pickaxe. Around a flagpole, we dig a moat, because that is what the mayor doodled. And at the flagpole, you hear a howl. A distant howl, and you think at first it is probably a train. Because trains often work at night too, when less people are around to get in their way of transportation. But you hear the howl again, and you ask me if I heard the howl. And I tell you, maybe I did, and maybe I did not. And then I tell you that saying, maybe I did, and maybe I did not, is always a correct answer to give when asked about something that happens in a dream. Because maybe things happen or do not happen in dreams. It is always up to the dreamer to decide what did or did not happen. But then, I tell you that sometimes, or very often, that dogs, when they are lost and cannot see the ground, call out for the moon to appear and light the night, so they may find their way home. And tonight is such a dark night, and a curtain night, and a night composed of many layers of fabric, hanging thick in the air, that the moon cannot shine through. So many dogs are probably having a hard time finding their way home tonight. You feel like you are having a hard time finding your way home tonight too, because you and I are night working on building a waterway for the mayor to Lake Calm Down. You feel like you would like the moon to appear and help you find your way home. And you mean this in a way to mean that you would like the moon to come down to the ground and take over your pickaxe, and then loosen a path of dirt from the ground you are digging in, so you do not have to. So you begin to howl at the moon, but your howl does not sound like a dog howl or a wolf howl. Instead, your howl sounds like a car alarm, the kind of car alarm that sounds like it is crying, and only shuts off until all you can hear is the car sobbing. And you must comfort the car and remind the car that it is not alone, and that things will get better. I pull a box of tissues out of my inventory pocket and hand them to you. You take the tissues and stop howling. You say, "I am not sad, I just do not feel like spending my dream working for the mayor, because tomorrow, when I wake, I will need to go to my real job and do real work until I can return home and to bed to dream again." And before I can tell you about the theory of why work appears in our dreams, and how that theory relates to another theory about how our lifetimes in the real world are really just a long shift of work, where we are electrons traveling on a predetermined path of life in a cosmic circuit board, before we must return to death and experience a long weekend of rest, before we return to life and another long shift of work as an electron in a cosmic circuit board. The tip of your pickaxe catches on one of the curtains of the night and becomes stuck and snagged in the fabric. And when you pull at your pickaxe to free it from the fabric, you separate a curtain from another curtain. Through this separation, you see light shine through. At first, you think it is the light of the moon, because earlier you howled for the moon to help guide you home by finishing your night work for you. But the light is too bright and too crisp and too happy to be moonlight. You know this because the light wakes you up and makes you feel bright, crisp, and happy, which is very unlike how moonlight makes you feel. And I tell you, the light is beach light, and you have opened up the barrier of day and night, and maybe even a barrier between dream worlds with your pickaxe. And like many people who, when they feel beach light on their skin, walk toward beach light, we cannot help but to walk through the curtains from our night work and our digging of a waterway to the source of the beach light, because we feel beach light on our skin. We slip between many curtains, first black curtains, then dawn curtains, then blue sky curtains, until we find ourselves on a beach. Once you realize you stand on sand, you kick off your shoes. When you see the waves of ocean water meet the air on the shore, you feel a rhythm and message in the waves. A rhythm and message that calls your name. A rhythm and message that calls to you to run to the water, and so you run to the water, to the edge of wet sand and dry sand. There, you feel the waves cover your feet, then rise higher to cover your ankles. You do not walk farther into the water, but the water walks further to you. The water and waves rise higher on your body, splashing you at your waist, then your shoulders. The water rises so high, it covers your face, and your whole body is underwater. I become concerned and pull you out of the water and to the shore. You cough up many gallons of ocean and ocean byproducts from your lungs. Confused, you ask me, "Why did you pull me from the ocean? Everything was fine." Because I think that the water wanted only to show its affection. And I tell you that sometimes, or very often, when a person feels drunk on beach light, and they see the ocean, and the waves, and the place where dry sand meets wet sand, a person will secretly feel like someone lives beneath the ocean, and that the someone living beneath the ocean sends secret messages between the waves only to them. And a person will respond by letting the ocean sweep them away, beneath the waves, and beneath the ocean, to where no one lives, or can live. And I tell you, that this is not the case. There is not a someone, living beneath the ocean, sending messages between the waves. And I tell you, that there are other ways to respond to the ocean, besides letting it carry you away, and under it. This is true of oceans in the dream world, and the real world. After you finish coughing up ocean, and ocean byproducts from your lungs, we begin to walk down the shore. And I tell you to look around, and notice how there are plenty of frisbees in the air. Plenty of frisbees, for everyone, seemingly appear out of nowhere. One frisbee, a green frisbee, hits you in the mouth, and this causes you to cough up teeth. And I tell you, that is the world, thinking of you. The world did not throw the frisbee at your head, but the world made someone throw the frisbee at your head, even though you cannot see them. And then I tell you, that you are one of them. One of the someones, made to throw frisbees around the world. At heads. At the sun. At many targets. When the world wants frisbees thrown. When the world wants someone to know, the world is thinking of them. But before you pick up the frisbee, from the beach, where it landed after hitting you in the mouth, you pick up your teeth, from the sand. And you ask me, did the world want me to lose teeth too? And I tell you, that sometimes or very often, the world dreams up a new currency for dreamers. When the world makes a dreamer, the world makes sure they are very rich, and filled with multitudes of wealth. Even if the wealth is not legal tender in the waking world. The world makes some people rich in hair. Others have dry skin, or unexpected mouths, or an endless supply of teeth. The world cannot help but dream up new currency for dreamers. And then I tell you, if you are losing teeth, or you find teeth in your dream, then you are already in an economy that you should not worry too much about. Prices for services and goods you may or may not experience are determined or forgotten. This is what it means to lose teeth. Sometimes without being aware, you provide a service or experience to the dream and must be paid with teeth on the ground. Like all economies and currencies of the world, it is the world making itself known to you in dreams. Before you can consider what goods or experiences you provide the world, another frisbee hits you in the head. This time, it is a blue frisbee. And before you can ask me what this frisbee means, a shaggy gray dog runs up to us and says, "Hello." And you say, "Hello." And the shaggy gray dog says, "Hello" again. And before you say, "Hello" again, I tell you that the dog is not really saying hello. I tell you that the dog first asked, "What kind of dog are you?" And then asked, "Are you going to throw that frisbee?" And the shaggy gray dog says, "Hello." And you say, "I am not sure what kind of dog I am." And then you ask, "Where would you like me to throw the frisbee?" But the shaggy gray dog, after feeling like the ocean was sending messages to them between the waves, ran off to jump into the water. So you throw the blue frisbee toward the ocean, and then you throw the green frisbee toward the ocean. You say to me, Well, I guess I must not be any kind of dog, because I do not understand what dogs say. But then a loud yellow dog walks up to us and says, yes. And I tell you that this dog is the dog of the morning. The dog of the morning tends to appear at the beginning of dreams, which is known as the morning of dreams. Sometimes you might see the dog of the morning in the afternoon or evening, or even in the late night of a dream. You might see her and want to ask, why are you around when it is not the morning? And even though the dog of the morning will feel embarrassed for you, and the fact that you have little understanding of how long a morning can truly last, she will answer honestly and say, yes. And then I tell you how one time I asked the dog of the morning, how many dogs are in the clouds? Because, at that moment, there were many dog clouds running around in the sky. Maybe a dozen dog clouds ran over hill clouds, and fire clouds, and snake clouds. The dog of the morning answered, yes, and I could not believe it. And so I then asked, if the first myths about dogs are true and they are children of the clouds, then why do dogs not go back to live among the clouds? The dog of the morning answered, yes. Surprised by her answer, another question spilled out of me. I could not help it. Without question napkins to clean up the mess of my questions, I asked, if there are only two clouds in the world, and one cloud lives in the sky, and creates all of the things, places, and people in the world to show the other cloud how to be a cloud, then when will the second cloud stop acting like the ground, and act more like a cloud? The dog of the morning answered, yes. And then I understood the tragedy of the world. How the two clouds, the sky cloud and the ground cloud, fell out of friendship, and will continue to drift further from each other until neither can see each other, each acting less alike with every day that passes. The dog of the morning looks at you and says, yes. And I tell you that the dog of the morning says she can help you figure out what kind of dog you are. Then, the dog of the morning walks away from us, along the shore. And even though the dog of the morning is not the sun, and is not the source of light in this dream, the dog of the morning is so bright, the sunlight follows her around the world, leaving the two of us behind her in a dimming light, because we are not bright. You notice the dimness that surrounds us, and our inability to attract sunlight. And you ask me, does this mean I am not a dog of the morning, or even a dog of the light and day? I tell you, maybe or maybe not, it is too early to know what kind of dog you are, or can be. Even though dogs have jobs in the dream world, this does not mean they are bound to their jobs for eternity. And I tell you that if the dog of the morning chooses to, she can change her job, and maybe instead become the dog of refrigerators, or the dog of tourists. Of course, the sunlight will probably continue to follow her around, because she will always be a loud yellow dog. We follow the dog of the morning along the shore for an unknown amount of quiet time, maybe for an hour. That is how hours are sometimes. And I tell you how there are other hours, like busy hours and red hours. Sometimes in dreams, all you have are hours to spend, because the dream is in our dream. And our dreams are always composed of a quantity of hours you are unaware of. A secret number of hours. So you must do your best in our dreams to try and spend the hours as well as you can. If this were an hour and a dog dream right now, instead of following the dog of the morning along a beach dream, you could be sitting outside of a house with the emotion dog. The dog that arrives on doorsteps to teach people emotions. Because often, people do not know all of the emotions in the world. And we rely on dogs, like the emotion dog, to teach us emotions. You have probably already met many emotion dogs in your waking life. You will know them because they are dogs that wander into your day and near you so that you may pet them or give them food. And then they wander off, and after the dog walks away, you have learned a new emotion. An emotion which will appear inside you when it is most needed. And if we were in a dog and our dream and sitting on the front steps of a house, instead of walking on a beach and following the sunlight that trails after the dog of the morning, we could be with the emotion dog, and the emotion dog might hand you a framed picture of a leaf. And in the picture, you will see a leaf that is stuck between wind and a window. And the leaf struggles against the wind and the window to be free. The leaf wants to be the kind of leaf that floats up and away and into the air. It is a moving and living, framed picture. You will want to ask the emotion dog what the picture means, and if the gold frame around the picture has a meaning as well, because the gold frame becomes messy with your fingerprints. But then, the emotion dog will place a paw on your knee and say, "Look." And you look at the picture and see the leaf move a bit. It is a movement that is tiny as a baby ant. But from that movement, you feel an emotion as bright as an orange in the sun. An emotion that makes you shout out loud to the leaf. To say, "You can do it, leaf. You can be free of the wind and the window." This will go on for an unknown amount of quiet time. Maybe an hour, or more than an hour. Because it is an hour and a dog dream. And you will sit with the picture of the leaf stuck against the wind and the window, while the emotion dog tells you to look at the leaf. And just when you wonder if you are putting too much emotion into the hours, or what feels like hours, by sitting with the emotion dog, from behind the curtain of hours, a magician dog appears. And you will understand that hours are curtains that layer up and obscure the view of other hours in your life. You will understand that all of the hours you have ever spent line up and layer around you, and that you can visit any hour in your past or your future, if only you discover the edges of them and slip between the curtains of hours to find your other hours. As we walk, the sand feels thinner. That is, as we walk on the sand, our feet sink deeper with every step. Our feet sink deeper into the sand, deeper until our knees are covered by sand. And we must try to climb along the shore, instead of walking the shore. We must climb out of the sand we sink into. This makes us slow, and we lose our light, because the dog of the morning does not look back to see our predicament. and the sunlight of the day follows the dog along the shore, leaving us in twilight until it becomes complete night. And in the complete night, we sink into the sand. And you ask, are we stuck in quicksand? And I say, no, this seems to be leisurely sand. Because, if we were in quicksand, we would already be drowning under the beach and waiting for a hobbyist with a metal detector to detect the metallic objects in our inventory pockets, and then dig us up, thinking we are treasure. And then I tell you that if a hobbyist with a metal detector digs you up and acts disappointed that you are not a treasure, do not let that hurt your feelings, because you are a person, and you will always be a treasure. Because every person contains a multitude of riches within them. As we sink deeper into the sand, you feel a glass bottle buried beneath you, and you pull it free from the beach to look at it. Inside of the glass bottle is a postcard, and on the postcard, all that is written is, I love you, but I am stuck in a jungle, and it is going to eat me. And you wonder who the postcard was written by, because it is not signed. Also, it is not addressed to anyone. And so you wonder about all of the people in your life that love you, and you wonder about which one of those people might be trapped in a jungle. A jungle that has more than likely already eaten that person, probably with vines that wrapped up around them like blankets until the person turns into only bones. And so you wish you were not trapped in leisurely sand, because you would like to pull a candle from your inventory pocket and light the candle in honor of them, and remember the person, even if you are not sure which person they are. In a small way, the person will be reborn for a moment, reborn in your mind, because you will honor them with a lit candle. But you are sinking in sand, and you cannot even find a pen to write an additional note under the first note on the postcard, because you would like to write, I love you too, but I am stuck in a beach, and it is going to eat me. We sink deeper into the sand, and it is the middle of the night, the time of night when the ocean and the sky share the stars. That is, stars are reflected clearly in the water, and the sky moves like water. There are no names to the stars, because in dreams, new stars are created each time you fall asleep. I tell you that we can pass our time sinking deeper into the sand by naming the stars above. I begin by naming one star, Humming School, because it seems like a good star to build a humming school upon. You name another star, Room Vision, for no particular reason. You just like the name, and have always considered it as a name for one of your future children. We do this for an unknown amount of hours, for what feels like more hours than could ever exist in a night, and it feels like a productive way to spend our time. We named the stars such names as the weather that just sleeps, and a wall of trees against the armies of the world, and center of town, and a hole you put screams inside, so they are out of your body. We name stars until we run out of our voices to speak with, and we are left with the sound of flat air that pushes out of the worn holes of our faces. From somewhere behind the curtains of the ocean and night above the ocean, howl sound. The same howls that drew us out of our night work of digging waterways for the mare and to the beach. Howls that near us, growing louder and louder until they feel almost on top of where we sink into the beach. We look out to the ocean for the source of the howling, and we see a boat approach us. And as the boat approaches, we hear a variety of individual pitches within the howls, making us think there are maybe dozens of voices nearing us. The boat comes into view, and we see it is full of maybe 100 dogs, in all variety of shapes and colors. Dogs that do not wait for the boat to touch the shore before jumping off into the water to paddle near us. Dogs that still howl as they swim, but with a howling that does not sound like howling. The dogs sound like they are singing multiple songs, and at once, in languages that are foreign to our ears and minds, but still in languages. Often in dreams, as a dreamer, you will hear languages that you will be unable to understand. If you have a bug net available, you can capture the language from the air and then hold it in your hands. There are some methods of shaking the language until it takes the form of a translation, and with the translation, you can understand the message you have captured. However, in our predicament, our hands are trapped in the sand of the beach, and only our heads stick up above the ground, making us unable to capture the songs of the dogs in order to understand what they sing about. I tell you, would it not be nice if they were singing a song about two people trapped in quicksand? And you tell me, would it not be nice if they were singing a song about two people trapped in quicksand, but then a boat full of dogs arrives to rescue the people trapped in the quicksand? I do not know when the day began, but when the boat of singing, howling dogs beached upon the shore, the day began, because the sun appeared to us again. And when the dogs jumped out of the boat, they seemed like children. Not like children, but childlike dogs. But not puppies. Because there is a difference, and you see the difference too. There were 100 childlike dogs on the beach, all singing and howling. I do not know if exactly 100 childlike dogs sang to us, but sometimes I can look at a group of dogs and say to myself, yes, that is 100 dogs. And then the dogs, at the edge of the shore, began digging, in a straight line, from the water to us. They dig a waterway, through the sand, right to where we were stuck in the sand. And then they dig us out of the sand, but then we must swim, because the water from the waterway surrounds us. The boat that carries the dogs to the shore bumps up against our heads, and the dogs on the boat lift us out of the water, in a way that felt like we once asked a question, and the dogs in the boat were the answer. That is the way of dreams sometimes. The way you appear is a question. Then what happens next is an answer. And sometimes, in dreams, you appear as an answer, and you search the dream for a question. It is also just as likely that within a dream, you will not be sure if you are a question or an answer. We sit down on the bottom of the boat, while dogs surround us. The dogs outside of the boat do day work and dig a waterway. The dogs inside of the boat do emotional work and sit with us. A dog wearing a cloak approaches you, and the dog pulls on a pair of white gloves. The dog becomes a magician, and then pulls a coin from behind your ear, and then a coin from behind your other ear. On the coins, you see a picture of your ears. And I remind you that dreams cannot help but create new types of currency for dreamers. The dog as a magician has more tricks, and puts their white glove paws into boxes, and hats, and cabinets, but pulls nothing but glove pawfuls of air from out of the objects. While this happens, you feel like a small dog is stuck in your chest. You tell the magician that maybe they should reach inside of you, because there is so much tail wagging inside of you. But the dog does not hear you, and continues to reach into more objects, and continues to pull nothing but glove pawfuls of air from out of the objects. In dreams and in real life, wagging tails can tell you much about the internal emotional state of the dog wagging the tail. Tails, in a way, are emotional propellers. Happy times require a fast tail. Sad times, a limp tail. The small dog within you propels through your body with a fast tail. You lie down and listen to the dog, who is a magician, and their white gloves, as they sift through the condiment shelf within the refrigerator of the boat. While the small dog ignored in your chest burrows down into your stomach. And through this feeling, you begin to understand an emotion you did not realize was within you. Also, some of the coins the magician forgot to pull out from behind your ears roll out to the bottom of the boat. You feel the small dog inside of you, and you think about the meaning of the dog. And you think that the emotion of the dog means that you are dying inside. Outside of the boat, the dogs continue to sing and howl as they dig a waterway. The dogs have dug so far, the boat is far from the shore and further inland. We are between mountains and plains and nearing a lake. And I am unsure if the lake is named Lake Calm Down. But when I look at the lake, I feel calmed down. I lift you up from the floor of the boat to see if looking at the lake will calm you down and the small dog that is inside of you. But you cannot look at the lake because your eyes are closed, because you are too busy looking inside of yourself to see where the small dog burrows, and you look so deep inside of yourself that you fall asleep and enter another dream. This is the small dog dream. You are a small dog, and you like to wag your tail. And like all small dogs, who like to wag their tails, the army of the undead wants to conscript you into their service as a small undead dog, to help locate small living creatures that try to hide in places the armies of the undead cannot reach. You wag your tail in a fast way through the world because you are both excited and nervous about the world, about the armies of the undead that want to conscript you. You remember what your mother told you about hiding from the undead when you were a puppy. You find seeds and grow them into trees. You plant one seed, and then another, until a wall forms around you. It might take years to build up the wall of trees, until the trees grow up a wall thick enough to hide you, thick enough to prevent the hands of the undead and the small dogs of the undead from reaching you. So you pass the time by planting more seeds and growing more trees. Years pass, and you continue to wag your tail in a nervous and excited way about the world. When enough trees circle around you, you dig a hole into the ground and climb in. You cover the hole with a hill. You continue to dig deeper into the ground, because you also remember what your mother told you about the world under the ground. That there is a deep, relaxing, and peaceful layer of earth near the center of the world. And you would like to find a deep and relaxing place, because your tail is tired from wagging all of the time because of the undead armies of the world. You dig deeper and deeper into the ground. In darkness, your tail propels you forward, which is downward when you are under the ground. You spend what feels like many years in digging downward, until one day you dig up something bright before you. You think you have found the center of the earth, because it is bright to your weakened eyes, like how you remember the sun above the ground was once bright. And so you dig around the bright thing, and after your eyes adjust to the light from the thing, you see that it is a white glove that is somehow as deep as you are underground. You sniff the glove, and then suddenly it reaches out for your muzzle and grabs you and pulls you forward and through the ground. Not deeper into the ground, but what feels like outside of the ground, outside of the world. The glove is stronger than you, and you cannot escape its grip. All your tail can do is wag in a terrified and stressed way. And as fast as your tail wags, it cannot help free you from the grip of the glove. You worry that the glove belongs to the army of the undead, that even deep underground, they have an ability to grab you. The glove pulls you outside of the ground, and outside of the world, to brightness and applause. To a brightness so bright, you cannot see. You are blinded by light. And to an applause so loud, you cannot hear. You are deafened by clapping. When your eyes and ears adjust to the new world, you see that you are not surrounded by the armies of the undead. You are instead surrounded by 100 dogs. You are being held by a dog, dressed as a magician. And then you see a magician that is surrounded by many clapping and cheering dogs. And then you see that the dog, dressed as a magician, has just pulled you from out of the chest of a person sleeping on the floor of a boat. A boat that sits in the middle of a lake. A lake with such blue and peaceful water, your tail stops wagging, and you feel calm inside. And you understand yourself, not as a dog, but as an emotion. An emotion that propels you through dreams, the world, your days. You look at the water of the lake, that makes you feel calm, and you think to yourself that you must remember this moment, and keep a replica of this lake inside of you, to remember any time your tail wags out of control, in a way that propels you through your days with fear. Then the applause and cheering of the dogs surrounding you, and the magician that holds you in the air, quiets down. And at first you think it is because the dogs are also looking at the calming waters of the lake. But then you see that they are all looking up to the sky. Because in the sky, one of the clouds, that is shaped like a glove, falls down toward the lake, and the boat, and the 100 dogs, and the magician dog, and you. And just before the cloud glove reaches you, you remember another story your mother told you about how the world is really just two clouds separated by air. And that maybe, if one day enough dogs want it to happen, the two clouds will join together again to become one cloud. And when the glove reaches you, and the magician dog that holds you, and the 100 dogs that surrounds you, and the boat floating on the lake that calms you, you wake up and feel ready to begin another day. This has been the Dog Dream with your dream guide, friend. Dream guides are written and recorded by Chad Redden.